Luckily I'm short. Right? Alex, you let me know when, and all right. Good morning, folks. My name is Sergio Perez. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Human Rights and Constitutional Law. Thank you so much for joining us today as we announce the filing of an incredibly important and hopefully impactful lawsuit meant to address a serious harm that is happening as we speak. That harm is the arrest, imprisonment, and deportation of brave immigrant survivors who came to this country seeking a better life and en route suffered harm or suffered harm once they arrived in their new home. When they spoke up about those harms, they were keeping up their end of a deal that the federal government made with them. If you suffer harm, law enforcement wants to know about it because it gives them an opportunity to hold those who harm them accountable. These laws have existed because they keep us all safe, and there is a process and legal rights that attach when you seek out those protections. This administration, this federal administration, in the service of a xenophobic and racist deportation campaign, has chosen to violate the law and target immigrant survivors of serious crimes and violence and renege on their end of the deal. Instead of protecting these brave individuals, they are arrested, imprisoned, torn out of the communities and lives they have built here, and deported back to countries that are often unsafe. You're going to hear from various attorneys of the organizations that have brought this lawsuit, and you're going to hear words from immigrant survivors who have suffered harm. Unfortunately, because of the times that we live in, those voices can't be in the room with us because there's no way to guarantee their safety from the voracious and racist campaign that continues to terrorize our immigrant and refugee communities on a day-to-day basis. This case is particularly important to me because my own parents came to this country as undocumented immigrants and as teenagers. One of those parents was trafficked into the United States from Mexico, paid money to get here, but instead of finding a new life, that parent found themselves in a dark, hot, crowded garage in Van Nuys, California, and was held there for an entire month while my grandparents scrounged up more money to secure their freedom. When that happened, we didn't have these legal protections that the Trump administration is violating. But we have, through Congressional Act, created those protections, and they deserve respect. Just like our immigrant survivors deserve just treatment. And so I appreciate the attention you're going to bring to this matter and to your time. Next up is Erika Cervantes, a staff attorney with the Center for Human Rights and Constitutional Law, who will share with us one of the voices that motivated this lawsuit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sergio. Before I start, as he stated, I wanted to share the following statement that can be attributed to one of our clients, Yesenia Ruano. My name is Yesenia Ruano, and from here in El Salvador, I want to say thank you for the team effort that is being made against social injustice. I want to say thank you for defending human dignity, for defending human rights, because as in my case, anti-immigration policies are trampling on dreams and destroying lives. So that's the statement from Yesenia. I also wanted to give my thanks, our thanks, to the brave clients and our partners here behind me who not only worked hard to push this litigation forward, but who were the ones that raised the systematic targeting of immigrant survivors. Imagine being an immigrant who has needed to survive sexual abuse, domestic violence, or being forced into bondage. Imagine that. And then finding the courage to step out of the shadows to report your trauma because the government encouraged you to do so by promising to protect you from arrest based on your immigration status, promising to protect you from detention, and deportation. This year, the federal government has, again, reneged on its promise to protect immigrant survivors of crime and trafficking. This administration's continuing assault on our immigrant communities is a green light for the mass incarceration and expulsion of immigrant survivors without respecting due process, their trauma, and their connections to this country. Point blank period, this is a full-on assault on human rights. In 2025, ICE detained one of our clients who was 64 years old. She had arthritis. Despite her telling ICE that she had arthritis, ICE didn't care. They still brutalized her during her arrest. And then after her arrest, she was sent to a detention center where she had no blankets, she had no pillows, and was forced to sleep on the cold floor. And despite her applying for a U visa, despite her going through the trauma of being a domestic violence survivor, and despite having the protections associated with that visa, she was deported to Mexico the very next day. And that's the reality. That's what's happening on the ground. And under this administration, that's not going to change course. And which is why we are joining brave immigrant survivors and filing suit. Immigrant survivors, including our clients, have been through enough. Enough is enough. We seek to do away with ICE's inhumane policy and demand that folks be released, returned, and protected from deportation. It is clear that this administration has no intention of following Congress's mandate to protect survivors of abuse and trafficking. But through this lawsuit, we certainly intend to. Thank you. I also want to pass the mic to Rebecca Brown, who is Supervising Attorney of Public Counsel.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rebecca Brown, and I'm a Supervising Attorney with Public Counsel's Immigrants' Rights Project. The Trump administration has unleashed a mass deportation plan that casts a wide dragnet that is capturing individuals regardless of immigration status. Recently, the administration reversed a policy meant to protect domestic violence survivors, survivors and witnesses of violent crime, and survivors of human trafficking. Now ICE is snatching survivors off the streets, detaining and deporting them. Time and time again, Congress has reaffirmed its commitment to empower and protect non-citizen victims and witnesses of crime who come forward and report that crime to the police. Decades ago, Congress created the U visa, the T visa, and the VAWA self-petition process based on the simple truth that we are all safer if victims and witnesses come forward and report crime and cooperate with the police without fear of deportation. Because there are annual limits to granting some of these protections, many immigrant survivors who come forward and cooperate with law enforcement are forced to wait years, sometimes decades, for the final adjudication on their application. In the meantime, they are granted temporary protection designed to allow them to live safely in the United States while their application is pending. Prior to the policy reversal, ICE was meant to check if someone they arrested had a pending U visa, T visa, or VAWA self-petition, and take into consideration that application before detaining anyone. Now, they do not. They just detain and deport them. It is a policy of arrest first, ask questions later. In some cases, the government is sending these survivors straight back into the hands of their abusers. This is wrong, it is unlawful, and it makes us all less safe. So we filed our claim in court. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And as a note, we'll be available for Q&As after these remarks. I'd like to invite Jeanette Zanipatin with Churla to speak.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeanette Sanipatin. I'm the Director of Policy and Advocacy with Churla. I also oversee our impact mitigation team. We are really full circle on what's happening right now. Many years ago, I worked to help pass VAWA as a law student, and now I'm here today to talk about the atrocities that this federal administration is placing these brave immigrants that have come forward to really enhance all of our public safety. We are taking part in this case because we stand firmly with members and clients who have suffered attacks, exploitation, and other crimes in this country and who have stood tall in the face of adversity to assist law enforcement in the pursuit of justice. These perpetrators seek to victimize the most vulnerable people in our society. By coming forward, our members, Chirla members, and clients chose bravery in the face of adversity. In doing so, they made our city and our country safer and a safer place for everyone to live. Congress recognized this in passing these laws to protect these courageous immigrants, and previous administrations, as my colleagues have mentioned previously, have had their backs, but not this one. It wants to strip them of their ability to work, of their ability to live here safely, and to detain them in these growing gulags that otherwise known as these detention centers, and even deport some of these individuals, leaving their aggressors free to inflict harm on other victims. We have dozens of clients who are affected by the lawless attempt to pull the rug out from under people who have made the U.S. a safer place and always held up their end of the deal. Chirla is proud to represent our members and clients as co-plaintiffs and also take on the role as co-counsel to fight for their rights and the rule of law in courts. One of our affected members is a business owner and mother of 3 U.S. citizen children, 2 of whom are still minors. Although they cooperated with law enforcement and helped secure a conviction against an individual who committed a serious crime, she is now facing the possibility of being ripped away from her family and her community and forced to start her life over in a new country after she spent many years here in the United States. Make no mistake, this administration is specifically going after survivors of crimes who have worked to make our community safer. And if this proves anything, or if you need any more proof, none of Donald Trump's or Stephen Miller's immigration policies are looking out for the well-being of American communities. This administration's only goal here is to deport individuals and make this country whiter, and don't care what cost, even if it compromises all of our public safety. The Trump administration's war on hardworking immigrants is a war with many battlefronts, as he targets different segments of our immigrant communities. We stood up to Trump when he started conducting his massive raids. We stood up to him when he started to announce and implement Show Me Your Papers law. And now he's coming for victims of crimes who have worked with the police and cooperated to make our community safer and increase public safety for all of us. We are here today standing up to fight against him once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. I also believe we have remotely joining in Congressperson Gwen Moore, whose personal experience and active efforts as a lawmaker have sought to protect survivors of violence, including our clients.
Survivors of violence, including our clients.
Good morning. I think it's still morning in California. It's afternoon here in Washington, D.C., but I count it all joy to be joining in this press conference with the Center for Human Rights and Constitutional Law. I completely support this class action lawsuit on behalf of immigrant and refugee survivors of gender-based violence, domestic violence, trafficking. I want to share with you a story of a wonderful woman who was one of the plaintiffs in this lawsuit, Yesenia Ruano, mother of twins, but more important, she was a valued, staple member of the Milwaukee community, a community that is hard pressed to find teachers, teachers' aides, people who provide support in the classroom for so many of our children who are now troubled. But she was such a gem and such a treasure. But She was also a victim of trafficking. And what was her reward for helping law enforcement punish her trafficker? She found herself being in the crosshairs of ICE and found herself, and they gave her a choice. Told her, we're gonna take you away or you just can self-deport. And so she self-deported after having built a life for over 14 years right here in our community. And we miss her desperately. You know, Yesenia was applying for a T visa. T and U visas are provided to people who are immigrants who are fleeing from the worst kind of violence. And we have provided them with these visas, and Donald Trump is breaking the precedent of enabling these immigrants to remain in the country because they've been so helpful to law enforcement. You know, xenophobia, and I heard someone make a statement earlier about Black and brown people, and xenophobia is definitely driving our immigration policy. If our immigration policy were based on anything like economic needs to have people contribute to our economy, if our immigration policy were based on anything other than that, we would open our doors, as all of us who are not Native Americans are immigrants, we would open our doors. Our replacement rate is underwater for workers. And we have seen immigrants like Yesenia bring so much value to our community. Why are we punishing people like her? What we were told during the election was that Donald Trump and his administration were going to rid the country of violent criminals, violent immigrants. They weren't talking about Yesenia Ruano. She was nothing like what we were told would happen. And I want to praise the center for their work. I think everybody within the sound of my voice needs to support their work. They are not scared to stand up to this misguided regime. This is not immigration policy. This is just bullying and forcing people out who are valued members of our communities. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you so much, Congressperson Moore. For media in the room, we have that recorded and can provide you with footage of it after the press conference. Up next is Jessica Farb with the Immigrant Center for Women and Children.
Thank you. My name is Jessica Farb. I'm the Deputy Director of the Immigration Center for Women and Children. For over 3 decades, since the Violence Against Women Act was first passed by Congress in 1994 and reinforced through multiple reauthorizations, immigrant survivors of violence and trafficking have depended on its promise of safety and justice. Today, those hard-won protections are being dismantled. Survivors who bravely come forward to report abuse or trafficking are now at risk of detention and deportation. This policy not only breaks the government's promise, it silences survivors, separates families, and makes our communities less safe. At ICWIC, we see the fear and heartbreak this causes every day. We call on the administration to honor the law and restore the protections that survivors and families have depended on for more than a generation. Gracias. Mi nombre es Jessica Farm, subdirectora del Centro de Inmigración para Mujeres y Niños. Durante más de 30 años, desde que el Congreso aprobó por primera vez la Ley de Violencia contra la Mujer en 1994 y la reforzó mediante múltiples reautorizaciones, los sobrevivientes inmigrantes de violencia y trata han dependido de su promesa de seguridad y justicia. Hoy, esas protecciones tan importantes están siendo desmanteladas. Los sobrevivientes que tienen el valor de denunciar el abuso o la trata ahora corren el riesgo de ser detenidos y deportados. Esta política no solo rompe la promesa del gobierno, sino que silencia a los sobrevivientes, separa a familias y pone en peligro la seguridad de nuestras comunidades. En EQUIC vemos el miedo y el dolor que esto causa todos los días. Pedimos a la administración que respete la ley y restaure las protecciones de las que han dependido los sobrevivientes y sus familias durante más de una generación. Gracias.
Thank you so much. I want to remind everybody that the coalition of groups that are here today invested in boosting the voices of our immigrant survivors and in bringing this necessary cause for justice forward. But we're not talking about creating new rights. We're calling on the federal government to respect the rights that were already established and have been established for years. We shouldn't have to waste resources and time on bringing forward such an obvious thing as merely respecting laws and policies that are already on the books. But I want to thank each of the organizations that have joined together to carry on this fight, including ICWIC, Public Counsel, CHIRLA, and my very own Center for Human Rights and Constitutional Law. So thank you so much. We're here available to answer any questions that you may have, either one-on-one or as a group. Thank you so much.
Do you have someone else who speaks Spanish?
Yes, Erika Cervantes speaks Spanish, and Jeanette.
Can you come to the podium?
Sure. Sure. No, ya sé, pero quiero avisarte que batalla un poco con mi español, so voy a tratar mi mejor.
Claro, claro, no te preocupes.
Okay.
¿Hay preguntas?
¿Hay preguntas?
Sí. Bueno, sabes, lo mismo que explicaste, cuál es el objetivo por el que están ahí, hablaste de algunas víctimas.
Sí.
Explicaste también que no podían estar acá por temor o de que ICE pudiera venir y por su seguridad, ¿no?
Sí, ok. So, en esta demanda estamos tratando de proteger gente que aplicaron por su visa U, visa T y VAWA. Y ahorita con esta administración han sacado una política que deja que ya pueden deportar esta comunidad muy vulnerable, pueden arrestarlos y detenerlos en ICE. Pero antes no era así. Esto empezó desde este año, en febrero de este año. Y antes tenían muchas protecciones. Antes ellos podían estar en público sin tener miedo de estar deportados. So, eso es el punto del caso, que queremos esas protecciones de antes.
¿Se sabe cuántas personas que están en proceso de una visa U o de una de estas protecciones que han sido detenidas o deportadas
Ahorita no.
o beneficiarios?
Ahorita no sabemos los números, voy a invitar a unos de mis compañeros que están, pero sabemos que este demanda, esta política está afectando cada persona en este país. Ya sé que estamos teniendo esta demanda en Los Ángeles, pero está afectando cada persona que están aplicando por un visa U, visa T y VAWA.
Sí, yo puedo añadir un poco. Entonces, pensamos que son como 200,000 personas que tienen aplicaciones ya en el sistema y más o menos 350,000 personas en total que pueden beneficiar de esta ley porque son hijos o parientes de la persona principal que ha aplicado. Pero la clave más importante de este caso y de extender las protecciones para este grupo de individuos es que los inmigrantes necesitan sentirse con confianza para reportar algún delito, algún crimen, pedir ayuda. Sin esta protección, muchos miembros de nuestra comunidad no quieren salir a pedir ayuda de la policía o pedir ayuda de una organización, por ejemplo, no lucrativa. Entonces, la visa U, la visa T y VAWA realmente ha ayudado en muchos aspectos para mejorar la relación, la confianza que tenemos con la policía y con los diferentes institutos que pueden proveer ayuda y protección a estas víctimas. Y no solo afecta a las víctimas directamente, pero afecta a todos nosotros que vivimos en nuestras comunidades, porque si no hay personas que quieren llamar a la policía, que quieren servir como testigos, que quieren apoyar a sus vecinos si son víctimas de traficante o víctimas de la violencia doméstica, todos estamos a riesgo y en peligro si no salen adelante estas personas para reportar estos delitos. Entonces todos perdemos. Y lo que está pasando con este presidente es, en vez de ver que todos necesitamos la seguridad, está comprometiendo la seguridad de todos que estamos aquí en este país, realmente. Gracias.
Y si quieren saber es que hubo memorándum que fueron en efecto desde que el aviso fue una ley. Es decir que en 2009-2008 es cuando realmente empezó la visa U, y en 2009 es cuando salió el primer memo en que le dio específicamente protección a estos sobrevivientes con ICE, o sea que no pudo ser deportado uno en esta categoría sin un proceso. Y no ocurrió. Y luego el presidente Biden hizo otro memorándum en 2019 que lo reforzó. Entonces, aún durante la primera administración de Trump, seguía esa protección, y fue por supuestamente la orden ejecutiva de este año en la invasión de aliens, en lo cual se basó un nuevo memorándum en 2025 que dijo no vamos a dar protección a nadie en esta categoría, nada especial para este grupo. Entonces así estamos viendo ejemplos de clientes, uno y otro, en lo cual no tienen ninguna protección y están puestos en detención y deportados.
¿Cuál es la fecha de la nueva política?
Es
febrero del 2025.
Febrero.
Desde febrero se quitó esa protección.
Exactamente, sí, y van a ver en la demanda, pueden mirar todo esto.
Se suponía que, por ejemplo, la policía, ICE tenía que preguntar a la policía para detener a estas personas si tenían una protección o si estaban como testigos o como de alguna forma, pero ICE no pregunta nada. ICE simplemente arresta a cualquier persona, incluso
tiene que preguntar a la persona, y luego bajo la política tiene que preguntar a USCIS, porque USCIS es la que tiene el poder de dar este estatus legal. Y lo que también van a ver en la demanda es que, más específicamente, es que la acción diferida, lo cual le da a la gente con la visa U, porque hay solamente 10,000 visas cada año para la visa U, y como escucharon, más de 300,000 personas esperando la visa U, así que van a ver que hay muchos años de espera. Durante esta espera se le da acción diferida. Nuestro cliente, ella tenía acción diferida, y un día vino ICE, no le importó que ella tenía la acción diferida. Nuestro abogado dijo, no, tenemos oportunidad de pelear esto, y ICE dijo que no, y ella está en México ahora. Solo tuvo un día de escuchar a nuestro abogado y ningún proceso. Entonces esto es lo que estamos peleando.
¿Ustedes obtuvieron la política a través de FOIA, o porque no la había visto publicado en algún sitio?
No, solo lo vimos, creo que estaba en el principio leaked. Y después, como el próximo día, ya fuera ley oficial. Eso es mi understanding. También algo que quiero incluir que es importante de esta demanda es que ya estamos viendo que gente ni quieren aplicar por la visa U, por la visa T. Tienen mucho miedo en poner mucha atención en sus casos, y tienen miedo que a eso lo van a deportar y arrestarlos. Y estamos viendo eso con los clientes de mis compañeros atrás de mí. Ya gente ni quieren aplicar, y cuando eso no es normal.
Una pregunta, de esas 10,000 visas que se procesan cada año, ¿cuántas son personas que entraron en los últimos 4 años de Biden? ¿Tiene algún número?
Serían muy pocos, porque la gente quienes están siendo aprobados, quiere saber de la gente reciente aprobados en el año pasado, ellos aplicaron en el año 2016-2017. Es una espera. Entonces ellos fueron atrás en la fila, así que es imposible porque todos los que están aquí, bueno, se puede aplicar para la visa U desde el extranjero, pero la mayoría de la gente están aquí porque aquí es donde tuvo que ocurrir el crimen en contra de ellos.
O sea, que alguien que entró en los últimos 4 años,
No fue por
si
vaina.
fue víctima, a lo mejor tiene suerte en el año 2030 y entra en la lista.
Claro. Uno se aplica hoy, va a esperar unos 18 años.
Ok,
Sí.
ya se
Si
nos olvidó
Congreso
por
no, siempre estamos pidiendo al Congreso a subir el límite de 10,000 a 100,000 o lo que sea.
¿Hay límite para visa T?
Sí, 5,000. Pero, ¿have they done it?
No, yeah.
Just this year, quizás por la primera vez lo alcanzó. Pero estamos viendo que muchos de los sobrevivientes de tráfico es que no aplican. Entonces hay menos en esa fila.
De esas 10,000 personas que están en el proceso, ya fueron personas, porque hay un proceso que tienen que ir primero por la policía para testificar. Esas 10,000 personas ya pasaron el proceso de la policía y lo que están esperando en la lista.
Claro, todos ya cooperaron con la policía o el fiscal o alguna agencia en algunas situaciones federal. Ya cooperaron y ya pusieron su aplicación en frente de los ojos de inmigración y ya aún fue revisado. Y tienen una revisación temporal, o sea, inicial, y solamente están esperando la revisación final para obtener su aprobación para estar en fila para la residencia y todo lo que sigue.
¿Usted cree que la demora de estas personas quizás es porque no han hecho un proceso con abogados y quizás lo están haciendo independiente? O sea lo que sea, siempre se van a demorar.
Siempre va a demorar porque hay cientos de miles de personas enfrente de ellos. No se puede saltar, o sea, va más adelante en la fila. No hay manera.
Es parte del proceso.
Es parte de un proceso, sí. No, ahí la mayoría de los sobrevivientes tienen abogado. Tienen abogado.
¿Y alguna de estas víctimas sufrieron la misma otra vez? O sea, digamos
Claro,
que fue golpeada,
claro.
está en el proceso y fue golpeada
Claro,
otra vez.
lo vemos porque están en las sombras, ¿no? Entonces, la razón para la visa U, una de las razones principales porque el Congreso se lo puso en efecto, fue por la razón de poder salir de las sombras y no ser víctimas y no ser las personas que los criminales quieren dirigir los crímenes. Entonces, sí, tenemos clientes que nos llaman y dicen, oh, yo fui víctima de otro crimen, ¿puedo aplicar otra vez o me puede ayudar? Y digo que no, que ya tiene su aplicación pendiente y tenemos que esperar.
Y cuando digamos que la esposa fue golpeada por el esposo y es víctima de la visa U, ¿quiénes califican esa visa aparte de la señora que fue golpeada? Hijos,
¿Quiénes
sobrinos,
más?
primos, tíos, abuelos.
No tantos, no. Un adulto puede incluir, bueno, si tenía esposo, si él no fue parte del crimen, también un adulto puede incluir niños menor de 21 años. Los niños pueden incluir a sus papás o hermanos y sí, casi eso.
Ahora el esposo le pega a la esposa, va 3 años preso. Como se demora 18 años, la espera, ¿ella lo puede incluir a él después en la visa U?
No se puede, no se puede, no califica.
Ok, gracias. Eso va a ser yo.
Y nada más para aclarar, ¿a quién va a ser presentada esta demanda?
Sí, en el condado de Los Ángeles. El demanda está en el condado de Los Ángeles.
Es una acción federal en el
En
Distrito Central.
El Distrito Central de California.
¿Cuántos demandantes identificados son?
8.
8. En todo el país.
Sí, de muchos países.
No, no, en todo, en
Oh, en
Estados
Estados
Unidos, como en varios estados.
Sí,
Ok.
sí.
¿Y será presentada hoy? Hoy.
Oh, fue ayer.
presentada ayer?
Sí, que entregamos la demanda ayer.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Are there any questions in English? Right? I want to thank you all again for gathering here today, and I want to take this opportunity to thank and acknowledge both co-counsel and organizational clients that have joined in this lawsuit. Our co-counsel include Public Counsel, Churla, and La Raza Centro Legal, and our plaintiff organizations, because we're representing both individuals and organizations who seek and work very hard to aid these individuals, are Churla, La Raza Centro Legal, ICWIC, and CCIJ. And I want to stress to you all, right, we're living through Domestic Violence Awareness Month. That is October. And instead of focusing our resources, our time, which are increasingly scant, on serving survivors of that violence and in helping them continue to build their lives here in the United States, we have to fight for their very existence within the United States. It's a true travesty that shouldn't be. So I want to emphasize to that again for you all, the injustice of having to spend our time and energy on this. When what we should have, these people should be continuing to live their lives here in the United States. So thank you so much. Any questions in English for our team, feel free to make them now or find us individually. Thank you.
Anyone? No? Thank you. You're gonna use the internet now.
Cecilia. Para atrás. Ahí estás. Me puedes ver a mí y ver a la cámara.
Oh, I didn't